known one of the second most common cancers in women, and until now pap smears really were the only way to detect cancer cells early. Some women can now breathe a sigh of relief in the fact that there is a new cervical cancer vaccine that the government has brought out, and has brought it out for free for women under 27. I'm outside Shine SA and I'm about to go inside and talk to one of the GPs about cervical cancer. I think it's going to be really interesting, so let's go. I'm at Shine SA with Dr. Katrina Allen, who is the Medical Education Coordinator. Can you please tell me exactly what cervical cancer is?
Cervical cancer is a cancer of the cervix, which is the neck of the womb. So it's the entrance into the uterus, and it's a point where there's two different types of cells, and they do have a tendency to, over time, move into a cancer, but it's very slowly developing cancer.
What are the symptoms for cervical cancer and how is it caused?
The symptoms of cervical cancer are generally bleeding or a very unusual smell and discharge from the vagina. I'd have to say they're very, very late signs, and at that point things would be pretty dire. It's actually caused by an infection with a wart virus, and the infection is never really cleared from the body, and over 10 to 30 years it will gradually change the cells to the point where the change becomes irreversible and you develop a cancer. So by the time you've got the symptoms, you've already had 10 to 30 years, during which time you don't have a cancerous condition, you have a completely treatable condition.
Could you please explain to us about the new cervical cancer vaccine?
Certainly. The cervical cancer vaccine that's been developed is essentially like all vaccines. It takes a little bit of the wart virus that you're trying to develop an immunity to and lets the body recognise it. So it gives the body a chance to view this virus first, so that when you actually get an infection with this wart virus, the body immediately defends itself and gets rid of the infection before it can actually take hold.
Who would qualify for the free cervical cancer vaccine?
It depends on, the question really is who qualifies for the free cervical cancer vaccine, because the cervical cancer vaccine is actually available to men and women over the age of 12 really, or even younger, but it's only available, that has to be paid for privately. It's only available, paid for by the PBS, by the government scheme, for women aged 12 to 26.
Do women necessarily still need to have regular pap smears even though they've already had the cervical cancer vaccine?
Absolutely, yes. At this stage, there's two reasons why women should still do pap smears, even if they've had the vaccine. If they have the vaccine before they have sex, then their risk of getting those particular infections that are protected against, which is wart viruses 6, 11, 16 and 18, with the vaccine they won't get those infections. That has been quite well established with the vaccine research. But there's still some other types which can cause cancer. 16 and 18 only cause 70% of cervical cancer. So even if you've had the vaccine at the right time, i.e. before you start having sex and get a risk of exposure to any of these wart viruses, you're still only covered for 70% of the types that cause cervical cancer.
The cervical cancer vaccine is given in the upper arm muscle 3 times. First of all, it's at your chosen date, and then the second one is 1 to 2 months after, or 4 to 6 months after that. So you've got 3 stages with the injection. Why is there a specific age for women to have this free vaccine?
Ideally, as I said, younger women, even younger men, younger boys, will actually respond to the vaccine more efficiently when they're younger. But in fact, the important thing to do is to have it before you start having sex.
Thanks, Katrina, for helping us understand a lot more about cervical cancer. You're really great.
You're welcome.
Wow, we've learned so much today about cervical cancer. It really is important to know all about it, as you really need to make sure you go out and get that cervical cancer vaccine, and it's free, so you have no excuses at all. So if you're a woman and you're aged between 16 and 26, make sure you go out and get it now.